Rightio. This video, I'm already going to say, isn't going to get monetized because it's going to be blunt. Okay? Here we go. Alrighty. Just want to have a bit of a chat, make it a bit funny. With me fruity melody. All right. I'll tell you how easy it is. And how hard it is as well. I've got a mate. I've got a few mates. And they're all mates in equal. You hear me talk about Glenn. And I just want to say that if you're one of my mates, or you know me, that I don't grade my mates, okay? So even when Glenn was alive, you didn't, and you were with me, you didn't feel insignificant in my eyes as a friend or a mate. And that's the way it should be. That's why Glenn and I were really good mates, because we didn't make people who were our friends feel that way around us. But people could see and feel that Glenn and I were very close. But Glenn and I could also see in each other who we were close to outside of our friendship, who we, friendship is like a jigsaw. You fit there. That's how it is. All right? That's the attraction, That's the necessity. I need you there and you need me there. Okay? We all have a jigsaw. Now, this one friend, he, I spoke about him in another video. And I won't mention names, because that's not the right thing to do. But I hope that all my friends and mates understand that my videos, my channel is about honesty and about how I'm feeling and situations that I come across within the friendship or just within myself, with coming across people and how I deal with it and stuff and what's happened, And I do my best to not put people to say who the person is. I don't think I ever have. Even if it's been even if there's been an issue there, like, been a bit of tensions and stuff, how it could have been handled. From, especially if I've felt, misunderstood. It all comes down to that knowing, doesn't it? it's how we speak today as well. We speak towards each other really with judgment, where our grandparents, they used to talk like, well, they must have had good reason. And today we don't say that. We go, oh, really? They did they? Okay. See the difference? Hear the difference? Now, when you're talking to someone you know, and we've had this feeling, someone will be talking, and then you'll go, no, it's like this, or oh yeah, and this, and then that person who was talking on that particular subject, and you've been part of the conversation, and you start, and they go, oh, I wouldn't know about that, they're shunning you off. You're talking facts, and they go, oh, I wouldn't know, like that, and they shut the conversation down. It's like, you feel like saying, all right, I know you don't know, it's conversation, but fucking hell, mate, what are you going to shut me down for like that? I'm not speaking of an opinion that I've come to myself, right? You want to have an open conversation? I'm telling you that this is how it is, because I know facts, right? And you're going, oh, I wouldn't know, like this. So what were you talking then before I opened my mouth? Shit. Things like that. People don't want to listen to you, stuff like that. It pisses you off, it annoys you. There was a situation that happened yesterday. I was at work, and I've just recently got a friend of mine a job with me doing what I do, because he wants to reattach himself to that side of him that he hasn't used for a while, and that's the communication line. And that's really what my job is about. It's just communication, right? And how to speak to people, understand people's predicament, and things like that. Unfortunately, my job, we 9 times out of 10, we're getting told a story. We're getting lied to. And you're getting lied to. They know they're lying to you. But you've got to keep, you can't say it straight out. Because even though you know straight away, you don't know that actual person's predicament. Right, why they're lying, my job's about people's finances, and they've, dropped the ball, right? And I think in anyone's life, that one financial, that's embarrassing. It's hard, in most cases. Then you get the ones where they really couldn't care, but they're still going to lie, to you, right? You do get the ones that, which is rare, and they can't, they just didn't know. They're worried, and they're the ones that you really go out on a limb for, and you help, you might, not break the rules. You got to understand that I'm me, and how I confront a situation or a person will be different to how another person doing my job would to that person. Same in security, different crowd controllers. But one thing you got to do is no matter how I work to how he works, is we have to always keep an understanding to not have this one's back, fellow colleagues' backs. Can't. They're never, that the customer, the debtor can never ever swing your opinion about the way they work. Okay? Unless it's an absolute total clusterfuck, right? You know, so our job, my job, it says in every, every instructions is we don't become argumentative. That can be, that's testing. That is testing. To not stand there and become argumentative, right? Because I've got to go to a job now where I was at last week. And they told me that they've spoken to the lender. And I know they hadn't. And they said, well, we've already spoken, so this is, this what I'm presenting them with last week, that's already been taken care of. And I said to them, I said, look, I said, it may as well, this could be a total clerical error. I said, but given where we are, 2025, it's unlikely. I said, but yes, this could be an office error, cleric error. But if it's not, I said, if it's not, I'll be back. Not because I'll be back, it's because I've been sent back again. And I'll have different paperwork. Right? So I'm going back there today with different paperwork. Now, with this job, you sort of, some jobs are some jobs are pretty much the same. They don't change, right? Okay? But you have to be prepared for that. Whoop, I didn't expect that. like what I had, yesterday, and what this fellow worker, or my friend, my mate, who is just, I started working with us, had happened to him. He, this was his second job he's done, and his first one was, was like, what, he got there, and we didn't expect that, but he handled it well, unreal, everything, fantastic, right? Nothing but praise for the first one he did. It was fantastic. Paperwork, dotted the I's, crossed the T's, fantastic, right? And by any means, I'm not taking the piss out of anybody with this video. I'm just saying how it can change, right? It can change, and you've got to be prepared for that. I like to talk, people know that. So I'm not a man of few words, but when it comes to paperwork and stuff like that and how I see things, I am a man of few words. I put down key points that jog my memory to certain things within it, and that's where I'm having to get used to. That's not what this job requires. This job requires that the client who sent me wants to know, basically, pretty much wants everything that I'm going through there, they want to know. So if a tree fell over while they're there, the wind changed to a point, they want to know everything. In saying that, when they want to know everything, they want to know everything to do with the job and what's going on. So it's a balancing act to putting the right information in there, or just too much in there, and that there was just too much. You know what I mean? It's a bit like when, you know, espresso coffee came to Australia. Right, we all got the cappuccino. That was a big thing. Cappuccino. Had to have a cappuccino. And we had to have the more froth, the bigger the froth, you know? Let me tell you. That's not espresso. But that's how we took it on, you know, in the 80s, you know, big cappuccino, more fluff, and put the choc on, you know. eating the fucking foam, you know, and there's this much fucking, you know, because we used to, you know, Master Roast or Nescafe, you know, yeah, there's the coffee, what's this, all this grinding stuff, fucking hell, you know, too much time. But now look at us, you know, now we're ordering almond chai lattes, you know. Me, I'm still a, you know, latte, full cream milk, 2 sugars, thank you very much, you know. You know, but people have different tastes, and they, different ways of looking at things, right? In saying that, the banana on the wall is art. It's not art, mate. Not when you can eat it and just change it with another banana, and that thing sold for $15 million. So, that's not art, mate. That's just someone. It's like the other dickhead who came in after that. He walked in, and he put his frame on the wall. Just on the wall. There was nothing there. You know what his art was? Imagine it. Fucking hell, mate. You know, we are getting so fucking stupid. You know, we're just letting people's minds run. It's not working. You know, that's just ridiculous, mate. I mean, there are people in there that are vision impaired. Okay, that appreciate art, you know, and they take someone with them and they want that person to describe the art to them in a manner that they like. Doesn't matter who you take to the fucking art exhibition and you're looking at that and they say, you know, what do you see? What's it look like? Is it beautiful? You've paid $50 to come and see this thing. And it's just a frame on the wall, it's nothing else. What do you say? There's nothing there. You know, art is a visual thing. It's a feeling thing. It's to capture someone's eye that mightn't at the time be able to imagine anything because they're going through something in their brain, a problem. Don't create more problems, dickheads. Put the art on the wall. And it's a bit off subject now. Getting back to what I'm getting back to. So, I was at work and my situation, my streamlined, easygoing plan for this job was not so. It didn't happen that way. I won't go into detail, but let me just tell you. It went from a job where I should have just opened the door, sat back in the car, when time come, got out of the car, shut the door. Let me tell you, I got there, I opened the door, and 10 bulbs ran out. Yes, well, that was my day. But whilst that was happening, this friend who's just started with us, he rang. And I could tell he was a bit anxious. Didn't know what to do. It was just a bit overwhelmed. Now, when you are in roles such as this, anything to do with dealing with people or a situation that anything to do with dealing with something that can change. You know, it might be easy, but you haven't got control of the thing, but you've got a good hand on it. You know what I mean? But it can change. You've got to learn to be able to minimize, think basic, not stupid, basic, right? And mind you, his first job was fantastic. Paperwork, excellent. You know, the way he, you know, approached the job, the situation, how he handled it, was all by the book. You couldn't have done it any better. That was what our boss said. Right? That's one job. The next job, you can be dismissed for it because you handled it wrong. Doesn't matter about the first job. Right? Now, and his second job, it wasn't an easy one. It should have been very easy, very straightforward. But it wasn't the case. This did not happen. It was very stressful for him. Mind you, when he was at the job, fantastic. Can't fault him. Can't fault him. It's after the job, the paperwork. We have to get paperwork in a certain time. And it can, especially like if you've just been at the job, you could be, you know, a job. I've been at jobs where they should only be like, you know, 2 hours, if that. Right, and it's turned into 7. You know, that can happen. You know, very easily, very quickly. And this job he was on sort of went like that. It started off fantastic, and you know, pretty much the job's printed out the way it should be. Everyone knows the job, and with our job, we rely on people's honesty and efficiency and also their own understanding. So we're dealing with the debtor, and the people facilitating the role to handle the debtor and their situation, and also our bosses and our clients. So the debtor doesn't have to answer to anybody, right? But they're the ones who can really throw a spanner in the works. It's Mary.
Oh, hi.
Hello.
Okay.
How was work? Good?
Okay, yeah, good.
Okay.
All right, bye.
And what happened was now I rang him up on the day of the job, you know, he was doing. And yeah, fine. And he's just said to me, he said, because he had to do inventory, you know, if things were coming off the truck, and he had to photograph it and write down the contents of it. This is someone's house that he's basically, what's coming off the truck and going to the debtor. That's what he was logging. And this particular debtor is I've dealt with him. It can be a handful. So we tried to we let him know that this can, as much as it should be a walk in the park, this bloke can make it a walk in the rainforest, right? And that's what happened. And he handled the job though. He did it. It was executed well. When that issue came, he executed his plan and it worked well. What happened was though, is the paperwork. There was a lot of it because the client wanted it all detailed, logged, and everything else like that. And he had something like, with photos, and he had something like, you know, 200 photos. So that's 200, that's not 201 things. he might have taken a photo of 10 things. He has to write, that's one photo, but he has to put a log for 10 things, as well as the overall day and anything that happened. Anyway, and our paperwork, we do our paperwork on a computer. That's how the jobs come. We print them out, you know, and then we, you know, do the action, come home, write a report, send it off. Now, the way I do things is it's very basically an email comes to me, I download it, I come back home, right, that email's still there. I've only printed off a hard copy. That's it. That copy, that piece of paper that I've got there, really, throw it away. I'm just saying, you don't do that. If I have to handle that data again, I file it, you know, in my filing, my way of filing, which is, everyone's got their own way of filing, but you know, it works for me, right? And anyway, but you can get a bit lost with technology and advancements, and you're dealing, the other person on the other end, they mightn't be dealing, you know, with whatever program you're working, right? PDF and all of this stuff, right? Now, I've been talking to my boss. He mentioned nothing of the issue. Why should he? I'm on a job. He's not going to stress me, right? And that about what's going on, right? And nor should he, right? Right. But this also, as a boss, he did. He looked at this. He looked at how teamwork, even though we're on different jobs, there's teamwork. Always there's teamwork. But we have to have an understanding is it doesn't matter. It's got to get done. It has to get done. We can't stop. It has to get done. It's like a fire. You just can't, you know, you've run out of water. You still got to keep going. Use whatever, dirt, I don't care. Whack it, you know, blow on it, right? You just don't stand there and go, oh, you know, ran out of water, we're still waiting. You know, it's not like that. You know, same with the security. The fight's on, you know. It's been hurt. It doesn't, even injured people can still have a contributing factor to a fight, to a situation. Right? Anyway, this friend of mine who, you know, he rang and I could tell he was a bit stressed. Now we have to have paperwork in within a certain time. Anyway, he rang and I said, "How you going? What's going on?" He said, "Oh, I'm a bit of, you know, and I could just tell, you know, something's not right. Something's gone awry. Something's gone awry here." And he hadn't got his paperwork in. And of course, my boss, the client's screaming, going, "Where's the paperwork? It's, you know, we're an hour over. You know, where's the paperwork?" And my boss has got nothing to show. You know, if you market yourself as, right, this, and then you say, "I'll have by this time," you've got to have something. And that I understand. Right? At the same time, you know, and I will say this, our boss did give some understanding. He did. He's a very understanding person. Right? And I pretty much knew, he knew that this person my friend would reach out to me. Right? And anyway, he did. And I said, all right, relax. And just, I spent now, even though I was having a situation, and my situation was quite, it's pretty big. What happened with me, it turned out to be something big. Nothing I'd done wrong, it just the situation changed. It blew out. But it wasn't my fault, no one's fault, it was the debtors. It's all right, it was being handled. And the way I handled that is I had a gap there where I could, you know, still be there, but take myself out of the equation for a little bit, but still be seen and approached. at my job, giving whilst helping my friend. Okay? And I said to him, I said, all right, relax. And he's saying this file, and he logged in, and he's done this, and his Wi-Fi dropped out. I mean, you couldn't get a worse thing than, fuck, the things he was saying, I'm just going, oh, for fuck's sake, this is like a fucking Monty Python sketch. But anyway, but he had it in his head that he couldn't do it. He couldn't send it. It wouldn't send. And this is where I say to people, don't forget the basics. Basics. We deal so much with new technology and new innovating ideas that we forget what we were using the day before. And if we're using today's technology, yesterday's won't work. That's not the case. That's not the case. It will work. If you can't get water to your house because you turn the tap on and there's no water, you can get a bucket and you can go to the river and you can get water and bring it home. That's basic as, yeah? That's what people forget, the basics. They get so used to dealing with technology. It's like people in motorbikes today, right? I've got a Desmo Sedici. Yep, no worries, okay? Let me tell you, that bike has no electronics on it whatsoever. That is 260 horsepower, raw horsepower, right, on a bike that's got no anti-lock brakes, no traction control, no lean sensoring, no anti-mono. It has nothing, okay? Absolutely nothing electronically will stabilise that bike, bar me. And if you can get that bike to go a kilometre and pull it up, not bad, of a rider. But I'm not asking you to do the kilometre in your time. I'm asking you to get on that bike cold, warm the engine up, right? Okay? Maybe do a couple of little circles to get the feel for the tyres and the suspension, something's coming. And then let all hell fury loose on the takeoff. Get it up to top gear and then pull it back down within a kilometre. And if you can do that, not bad. Because everything on that bike is for a racetrack and it goes against the brain. The brakes won't work if you're not going fast enough because you won't get enough heat into them. Simple as that. The tyres won't work if you don't go hard on them at the start. They're too cold. You're going to slide. Everything your body says to you is going, we're going to die. And maybe you might. But, the way it's been designed is you've got to do this. And I think that's where people forget. What was yesterday? What we were doing yesterday? How did that work? Right. And I calmed him down and I said, right, this is what I do. And I reminded him, I said, when you called me and you told me you had those photos, I did say, get them across to him now with, and each photo he had a little documentation to it. Right, get them done, give him something, right? And now I've learned about the paperwork, right? And what it was he was doing the job that he did as his first one, highly detailed. And it was just this second job didn't require that, or he didn't have the time to do that. You just mightn't have the time to be able to give the same because you just don't have the time. I said, you're going to have to just minimise it a bit. Key points, keep it basic. Stuff different filings. I said, just put it through as this, email to email. You can do that. You can send the photos now. And that 5 minutes I spent with him, it really calmed him down. It helped him a lot. I then, called my boss and I said, listen, I've just spoken to him, right, I know what's happened. I've told him to do this and that, and he's gone, yep, okay. He said, but he said, hard lesson to learn, but time limits to time limits. And he said, fair enough, I understand. Right. He knew that he was beside himself, that he didn't get the paperwork in, but at the end of the day, I was dealing with someone that was still mucking around with something that wasn't going to work, and their brain hadn't clicked yet to flick over, to go, all right, okay, all right, because he got so much praise, the first one, using that system, he kept on using the system and didn't think to go backwards. It's not really going backwards, it's just going back to what works. And it calmed him down, it helped a lot. And it also showed our boss that we're also there for each other. And we helped. We can help each other through each situation. You know? Yes, the job's important. Yes, each job's totally different and, requires a certain finesse. But we also understand we're all different jobs, and where someone might get stuck even though we're not there for them, we can still be there on the phone helping them like that, and at least knowing where they're at, and we can maybe fill in the gaps for the client, because their situation, we can help them, we help each other. And that's the idea. And as long as this video took, that whole situation that happened with my friend who's just started with us, it only needed 5 minutes to just calm him down, talk, and just take him step by step back through again. And you know what he said at the end? You're right. Thank you. I don't want to thank you, and I'm not right. I just helped you. There. He did it all on his end. I was only talking. He's still got to do it, and he did it. So I ask this: why does it take a video this long to help people to be able to sort something out within 5 minutes? Hey? It's madness. People give lectures and stuff like this, The only way I can put it was when I was thinking about making this video. I thought, well, how can I put this? And it's simple, really. The person who developed the fire hose with the fire truck and everything else like that, the engineers and everything else like that, right? And you're becoming a firefighter, right? Which one do you want to teach you how to use the truck, get the water flow right, and hold the hose? The person who designed it, or the one who's using it and just knows how to grab it and hold onto it with a basic understanding of pressures and force and everything else like that? Because let me tell you, the person who designed it and built it, guess what? 9 times out of 10, they've never used it. They've never grabbed the thing and held it. These MotoGP bikes, these motorbikes you see on the road, do you know how many of them are actually ridden by the person who designed them? Fuck all. They have no idea what they've built. So be understanding of that, who you listen to regarding how to use it. Because if I use that fire hose in that truck the way, from the designer's point of view, I'm never going to get to the fire in time to put it out. But yet, it's a highly special, critical machine that requires utmost respect, right? can't muck around with it. You need to know that this thing, if you don't use it properly, it can kill you, or you're gonna have people die because you're not using it properly. But at the same time, I don't have all day. I've got seconds, mate. And the one who's using it within seconds, bang, right? He didn't design it, but he's got a handle on it. I'll take the one who can hold the hose, mate. Because if you can at least hold the hose, you're 10 steps forward. Like breaking in a horse. Yeah, everyone can ride a horse. No worries. Not many people can break a horse in. Alright? So let's not forget the basics. Alright? Even today, there's no quick way of breaking a horse in. Alright? Still takes time, patience. People get on me, oh, I can ride a horse. I can ride a horse. Yeah, can you? Yeah, come here, mate. You ride this fucking thing, you know? Whoop, and they're off. I thought you can ride. Yeah, money when it's been told what to do. Fucking wankers, mate. Like anyone can ride a fucking motorbike if it's got 3 wheels. Fuck. But anyway, so when you get a bit confused and a bit bewildered with what's going on, no matter what it is, just take a breath. Just breathe. And breathe. Okay? Because if you're not breathing properly, you become lightheaded and you get a bit dizzy. I said to someone yesterday, I said the best advice I got doing security or coming into security, mind you, I know how to fight. Not saying I'm a good fighter, but I know how to fight. I've done boxing, stuff like that. Man, you can be the best boxer in the world, but if you don't do this, if you don't learn how to breathe, you're going to go down for the count. And I'd watched a lot of people in my time do some things, and it all comes down to breathing. Even in the gym, lifting weights, if you don't know how to breathe, you're going nowhere. And this one person said to me, he said, because we're in security now, this is the real deal, there's no gloves. And he said to me, Justin, he said, when you're going into a fight, make sure you go into that fight with no air in your lungs. So do this. He said, because then you'll breathe. Oh, so that's bad. I'm going to breathe anyway. Nope. I watch people going into fights, and a lot of them, they do this. Come on. And their body won't let them exhale. Because that breath is, their body's going, it's the last one. And they go. But if you go in there with no breath, yeah? So every punch, every throw, you're exhaling. So, like a steam train. And that works, because I've seen a lot of, if you watch a lot of people fight on the street, they hold their breath, they forget to breathe. And that simplest thing, isn't it? Simplest thing, but most critical. So if you're a bit scattered, a bit bewildered, just, and you can do that in any situation. This might look like it takes time. It's only a second though. It's just like a bit of space. Okay, yeah, back on. when I was racing bikes. You'd have those moments. Every race has had one. In the middle of the race. A reflection, just a quick reflection. It might be a millisecond, a quick reflection. Just, oh yeah, okay, got it, I got it. You know? But the thing is as people, we also have to be prepared to help someone through that. And it doesn't take as long as this video. It doesn't take 5 minutes. So let's not muddy the water that's already muddy. When someone comes to you and the water's already muddied, don't muddy it anymore. Because you can't muddy it anymore. You need to start cleaning it. Right? So go basic. But before you get them to understand, get them just to breathe. Bit of time out, breathe. That's all. Okay? Go get a pie. Okay? And understand, yesterday's technology worked. And it still works today. And the next day. Just like the bucket to the river, back home, brings water. Okay? Go get a pie.